But for those who stand in your way and betray you, their day of reckoning will come.
Hey everyone, welcome back with Amino Mac, where today we're going to continue our playthrough of WWE Day of Reckoning, and this time it's personal, as you just seen. I know that you and Triple H are ready to tussle for the belt at any moment. Damn right. But obviously, it is going to have to wait until WrestleMania next week. Another week? I realize you want a main event match for WrestleMania, but this is beyond business now. Triple H has made this personal. I don't know if I can wait another week to get my hands on him. And look at me flipping out like a chick. Well, that's music to my ears, and it's also your lucky day. I said that you and Triple H would have to wait a week to fight for the belt. I didn't say that you'd have to wait a week to fight. You see, tonight I've created a special Champions and Challengers mixed tag team match. Oh no. It will feature you, Kai, and Victoria, the #1 contender for the Women's Championship, versus Women's Champ Molly Holly and her special partner, Triple H. You can thank me later. Now go out there and have a great match. I know this is somewhat common for, WWE. But I don't know, like, this is a game. It just doesn't have the same thing to it, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense on the build up to WrestleMania. Jeez, oh, wow, she's going nuts. Even with the knee brace. I don't remember Victoria at all, really. I always just remembered her as like the badass chick or whatever. At like around this time. But yeah, I definitely don't remember her like with this dancing gimmick. I remember this song. And I remember the psychopathic gimmick and stuff like that. But I don't remember her just coming out and showing everybody what she's got, I guess, for lack of better terms. Oh, and of course, yes, I know she was one of the Godfather's hoes. A lot of people, like, I don't think it's that they think, it's just that they want, or they wanted her to be in WWF No Mercy as one of the Godfather's hoes, but I don't think she ever was, like, intended to be included. I think with the hoes, they're just random character models that the game created, but I could be wrong as far as that goes. I just know Victoria's not in it. Not in that or the beta. But yeah, Victoria, she had those moves. She wasn't messing around. Interesting that Nicki Minaj, though. Was it Nicki Minaj? I'll be honest. I do not know pop music very well at all. I'm a geezer, you know. I was born like 1999. But all my music that I enjoy listening to is from like before I was born, so don't ask me what it is, you know, who's saying that. But I think it was Nicki Minaj, and it's just interesting. Not only was she the person who did that song a wrestling fan, but the fact that like they had a song made for WWE around this time. Oh wow, they even have the bald Molly Holly in this game. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, I wanted this match to be last week's video, but yeah, it was just kind of felt like the matches I already had were taking too much time, and I didn't know how long this one was going to take, so we're just combining it with the WrestleMania match. But yeah, once again, like, it makes sense because you see it all the time in WWE. You know, they have the matches right before, you know, the pay-per-view, like a tag match like this or whatever. But I don't know. Like, it's gonna feel like it's just, I don't know. It kind of makes it not as satisfying if I were to beat Triple H in this match, and I sure as hell I'm not tagging in Victoria. It also would be very unsatisfying if I got my ass kicked before WrestleMania too. I wouldn't be surprised if fucking Ric Flair came down here and kicked me and Victoria's asses, like he's been doing all game. They do not book the faces very well in this game, I will say that. Maybe it was a Triple H order or something like that. I was actually talking about last week. It's funny. I'm not gonna go over my thoughts about it. You know, I kind of stated what I believe all of like the allegations of like the burying and stuff like that of like superstars or whatever by Triple H. I didn't really go into the Goldberg one. Like a lot of people, you know, I think Goldberg, they just wanted like a WWE version of Goldberg, not like the actual like 1 minute match Goldberg. They wanted him to have like the long matches if he was going to be a main event style guy. I just don't think Bill Goldberg was that guy. I think they learned that lesson when he came back in 2016, but yeah, it was God damn it. But yeah, I don't think it was necessarily good booking at all, just because, you know, that's not how Goldberg was, obviously. But I mean, if you ask people like the Elimination Chamber match, I mean, I think Goldberg, you know, he tore through pretty much everybody else in the match. And I mean, he took a sledgehammer shot to the head when he was going full force in a spear of his own. You know, I feel like if you ask anybody about what happened in that match, I mean, you think like Triple H, you know, Goldberg went for the spear, Triple H just grabbed Goldberg out of midair and held him in place. Goldberg begged for his life, pleading, "No, Mr. Hunter, please don't hurt me." All that other sort of stuff. Like, I don't think it's as bad as everybody says. I think the stuff afterwards was just not very entertaining, and the Armageddon triple threat match was, it was not very good. But yeah, that's kind of always the match people like say. But I mean, I feel like if you're somebody also, and you know, obviously it's objective, because I mean, Goldberg was a guy who, you know, that was his whole thing. He just tore through people in like 5 seconds. But I feel like if that is how you are, and it's kind of a one-trick pony thing, you know, it's just, I mean, people got sick of it in 2016. I think people got sick of it in WCW, you know. I'm never going to deny the cool legacy that Goldberg had, and I'm not even going to say, you know, I'll share my thoughts on the Bret Hart stuff between him and Bret Hart later. You know, it's just like if a video more related to that, but I don't know. I think if you got to kind of, they did try and push him for sure in WWE. It's just they went the wrong way about it. So that was kind of my point last week. It's just incompetency. I don't think it was intentional. We're going to bury the shit out of these guys. Because Vince McMahon, he lives in his own world. And anything that happens outside of it, he has no idea. That's why, you know, a lot of guys didn't get over. Not because they weren't good, but because they weren't good in Vince's image. And some of them were just good enough, like Dusty and Rick, to make it. Because, you know, Vince saw that vision, or they convinced him of that vision. Others, it was just Vince. He didn't know what made Booker T special. He didn't know what made DDP special or anything like that. Like I said, I mean, I think I explained it better last week, in which, you know, he would watch like 10-minute highlight reels or whatever. You know, whatever happened in the WWE, that's all Vince McMahon knew. Even Raven said, you know, when he got rehired, it wasn't, hey, you know, who hired Raven? It's, hey, who hired Johnny Polo again? And it's funny that people will tell those stories and they'll understand it like, oh, he's just not, he's in his own world. You know, he doesn't know what's going on. That's why, you know, these people didn't get over. But then when it's convenient for them, it'll be like, oh, no, you know, they stole my gimmick. Oh, no, you know, he intentionally buried me, this or that, especially with the fans. So it's kind of like a weird, I'm not saying, like, I'm not even defending Vince in the sense of like, oh, give him a break. It's just, it's not intentional for the most part. I don't think. It's just sheer incompetency from all the interviews I've heard. Even RVD said that, you know, he thought that it was just where Vince was pretty sure he didn't understand what his gimmick was even supposed to be. So, incompetency. But I think Triple H gets a lot of that hatred, especially since he, you know, married Stephanie. You know, it's just something he's going to have to live with. But it's funny to see how much some people hate Triple H. He's probably one of the most hated wrestlers of all time. And once again, I'd have to check out, you know, Shane Douglas and the franchise and all that other stuff. Because I heard one time somebody, the only time I ever heard it was from a fan on a comment on a video of saying that Triple H, the game gimmick, was just a ripoff of Shane Douglas's franchise gimmick, and I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I can't really say. But to me, the game gimmick, other than just saying, yeah, I'm the best there is, you know, I'm the best there is because I am the game, you know, all this other stuff. There's not really much of a gimmick there when you think about it. It's just him saying he's the best in the business and all this other crap, and how he eats, breathes, and sleeps it. It's not like this overarching like character, in my opinion. Like, same thing when people talk about Owen Hart in that way. It's just of how he could have been the game. It's just not really much of a gimmick, in my opinion. Other than I feel like that's just natural. You know, they cheats and stuff because he's a heel. But here we are, folks. The grand day of them all, WrestleMania 20. Speaking of incompetency. Well, here we are at WrestleMania, the grand day of them all. Yeah, I just said that, Vince. Thank you for repeating me. You know, when you first signed your contract earlier this year, I had a hunch that you'd be a blue chipper with a bright future. Or shit. But even I, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, could never have guessed that you'd have such a meteoric rise through the organization. Jesus, I can't talk. Not even I could have guessed that you'd reach an almost unprecedented level of success so quickly. I swear I can read, guys. But you have, and you've met every challenge along the way. So tonight, on the evening of your first WrestleMania, you have my sincere congratulations, pal. Thanks a lot, Vince. That's Mr. McMahon to you. Right, Mr. McMahon. Man, what is with all this Mr. McMahon crap? Oh, and one last word of advice. You have an opportunity tonight. A very special opportunity at the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't have to remind you that there is a locker room full of superstars in the back, each of which have worked their entire career to earn the chance you have tonight. So, my advice to you, win or lose, make the most of this shot while you've got it. Alright. You're up against one of the greatest superstars in the world today, Triple H. Yeah. What about him? He is going to do everything in his power to destroy you in order to defend his title. By the way, what do you guys think of Kai's outfit here? I think it's a little over the top, I did. Go out there and give it everything you've got, because I guarantee you that if you screw it up, you've got no chance in hell of getting another chance like this anytime soon. You can count on me, Mr. McMahon. I've worked hard to get to this point, and I'm not going to let anybody down, especially myself. And Triple H? Well, he's had a good title run, but tonight I'm leaving WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight Champion. That's a nice plant in the corner. The GM offices always looked so nice back in the day. That was beautiful. Beautiful, folks. I also do have to say, Triple H is not one of my favorites. I actually do really like playing as him in the games, despite not really liking him as much on screen. But I have to say, I do agree with the fact that like the stereotypical WWE wrestler, especially back in his day, like he just seemed like the complete definition of that, right? Like he's like the stereotypical guy I think a lot of people think of when, at least a lot of the mainstream casual fans think of, such as myself, when they think of the professional wrestler. So for as much things that he did that annoyed me, and he was on top for, I think I agree, for way too long at certain points. It just kind of got old. But oh, and that terrible Katie Vick storyline. That makes me sick every time. Like, ugh. That's, yeah. Anyway, the less said about that, the better. Let's get off that topic. But yeah, I think a lot of people are just. I just find it fascinating how much not just dislike but just hate Triple H gets in the community. And like unlike John Cena, like when John Cena left, like people were hating him the entire time, and then once he kind of left, and like to me it seemed like it started in 2015, kind of when it was clear as day. Well, I think like 2014 actually, 2015, around that time period, when it was kind of clear as day. I mean, there were still a lot of people who were saying, like his U.S. title run, John Cena, oh, well, he was, it was really just a talent of everybody else, carrying him in his matches and stuff like that. I don't agree. And I think it was just at a time thing, people were saying that, and there's still some people that still believe that. But I think it was around that time when people really started to kind of get in their head like, wow, the WWE is changing and John Cena is not the head guy anymore. And then when he actually did leave, it was actually pretty crazy. I think it was clear to see, like, for the casual wrestling fan, and because like a lot of the guys that were coming up at that time were like a lot of very popular indie guys, right? Like the big strong dudes you would see in the Ruthless Aggression era, were no longer the norm. And that's a good thing in and of itself, because Mark Jindrak, Luther Reigns, there wasn't really a lot to a lot of those guys. There was personality-wise, Heinrich and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that big guys for the sake of big guys, because I mean they stink. And obviously guys like Eddie Guerrero, RVD are freaking awesome, Rey Mysterio. So it's not really size that matters, but personality. And I think for the longest time, it wasn't necessarily all their faults, but I think a lot of guys just were not able to really show off their personalities. Roman Reigns especially, because obviously we've seen what he became. But yeah, I mean, for a long while it was like, yeah, something, when John Cena left, it was like something is sorely missing from this product. And it was clearly, I think, the stuff that, the presence of what that John Cena brought. I think in the last few years, it sounds like, once again, I don't really watch the modern product, but it sounds like there's actually a lot of people, personality-wise, to watch wrestling for. I like it for the, the storylines. I was actually going to start watching again this WrestleMania season, but I unfortunately couldn't get access to my Peacock account, so sadly I figured, whatever, maybe I'll try next year when the storylines are as big once again. But Cody Rhodes, even I've checked him out, I'm still not a big fan of him. He seems like the same guy from like 2012 or whatever, and I wasn't a big fan. But obviously he's a much bigger star now. Roman Reigns, I've seen a lot of his promos. I think he's pretty great. There's a few others, like LA Knight. He seems pretty funny. So, I mean, there's personality-wise, I think that's the personality that makes wrestling what it is. And I think if you disagree, you just look at AEW and you'll see, it's kind of, that's the kind of cool part about it in today's age. I don't think they're in competition with each other, despite what AEW says. I think they're just very different in the fact of you really are getting the extremes from both sides. You know, the personalities of the WWE with the heavy storyline focus, and then, I mean, I get they're trying, but I just think the storylines in AEW, it doesn't seem like the majority of people are really, you know, jiving with them. But that the wrestling itself, you know, is what a lot of the people are really enjoying in AEW. So it's pretty cool that we're kind of living in that time, or this time, I guess. You know, 2024. Man, he is. This is actually the second time I've had to do this match because he. It's kind of just turned into a thing, which, you know, the charisma stats in this game are just broken because even if I can reverse them, like eventually, like it just becomes a thing of where, you know, look at how much momentum he's getting from just hitting me with the finisher. But I mean, it's just kind of nuts, really. I mean, even look at my momentum. I know I'm confusing it. My special meter, our special meters fill up so fast. So then it's just kind of like a finisher fast, and that's not really, that's one of the issues I definitely have with this game. So it's, in a lot of ways, just not the most well balanced. And just a heads up for you watching, I do intend to continue the story of Day of Reckoning 2. So after this video, next week we are going to start WWE Day of Reckoning 2 to continue Kai's story. I don't know what that's going to look like. I've just heard that the story does continue at some points. I was also warned of apparently a Fatal 4-Way Steel Cage match that is like just like the worst match and really in a WWE game ever, I guess. So yeah, I guess I've had quite a few pain in the asses in this game, so if that is the match that I have to worry about, I can tell you this, I'm probably not looking forward to it. Just the concept of it alone, a Fatal 4-Way Escape Only Steel Cage match, yeah, I can see that being nothing but chaotic, people breaking up moves all the time, nobody staying down for 5 seconds. If it's anything like what's going on here, I'll hit people with finishers and they'll just get up right away. So yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come with, you know, when we come to it or whatever. All right, we're in the win here now. But like, look at that. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Special after special. But I guess it's not. I would have preferred 10 minutes, like I said, but 15 minutes. It isn't the worst. But I mean, geez, I think it was SmackDown. It either was like, no, SmackDown 2. Whenever you would face those unknowns, you always face them in like a special match type. And a lot of times, I feel like I get an Iron Man match. And I mean, come on, 30 freaking minutes. What the hell were they thinking? Especially in SmackDown 2. Like, that's not like a match pace. That's not a game that would fit, you know, that kind of match pace. You know? The fast-paced arcade style? No way. Like, you can win that matches in that game in like under 5 minutes. Well, actually, now that I think about it, I mean, you can do that with any match in any game, really. Depending on the difficulty, anyway. Alright, we got a little bit of a lead here going, folks. Stick with us here. I guarantee I'm going to take out the ref with this move. Oh, no, he actually got out of the way. But he was right up my ass. Like a damn tailgater for a second there. Also, one thing I did want to talk one more time about, you know, I talked about it at the beginning of this video about the, you know, the Triple H stuff. I made all my points about the Reign of Terror stuff and whatnot, and, you know, you can have your own opinions about it. But, to once again to address the thing, once again, I haven't seen what Shane Douglas did as a franchise. I'm going to check it out. I'm probably going to tell you guys what I think about it. Next video in my Day of Reckoning 2, regardless if I face Triple H or not. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, the guy said, oh, yeah, it was a complete ripoff and stuff like that. Like, this is the wrestling business. People steal moves, gimmicks, they reuse them all the time. I guess it'd be a different thing if it was like, you know, they're going at the same time, not, you know, oh, this guy hasn't been wrestling for 5 or 10 years or whatever. So I can see the point in that. Jeez, this is getting bad. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's same with like ECW and stuff like that. Like, I think WWE, you know, with the Attitude Era, I 100% agree. You know, they definitely took a lot from ECW. You know, the hardcore wrestling for sure, the swearing, you know, more mature audience. But I think they did it in different ways. ECW, that was just its whole identity. WWE was kind of just, I think, better at storytelling, you know. ECW, from what I hear, had some really great stories, but not always the best quality of wrestling. You know, I've seen a few clips, and yeah, I don't. One thing I hate, a lot of times I look at clips, and you can tell that it's kind of like stunt wrestling, in my opinion. And it wasn't really, you know, they were just kind of setting up spots. And this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. I might be one of the few guys that had this opinion, but like, take for example the TLC matches between the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys. I do not like those matches because it was clear as day that they were just setting up spots. And I think later on, after it was a good building block, definitely important landmark matches, and I think they eventually did get better each match, you know, making it look like they weren't just blatantly setting up spots and stuff like that. But I mean, they would just set up tables outside for no reason. It was literally like a video game, you know, like when you're playing the video games and you're setting up tables for things that might happen. And, you know, they would set up ladders next to each other for seemingly no reason instead of trying to push each other off. Like, I don't know. I think the WWE, you know, has just gotten a lot better at that since then. But that was kind of what a lot of what I've seen in ECW for matches. But I mean, they had some real legit top caliber talent that kind of got stolen from them because they were like, you know, I wouldn't say a minor league, but they were a low budget promotion. So, I mean, I think Paul Heyman is a freaking genius for being able to achieve what he did with ECW. I mean, it still has that lasting impact that now, you know, people are still, you know, saying, you know, there's nothing like ECW, it's never going to come back. Even, you know, wannabe promotions can't do what Paul Heyman did with it. Yeah, hit him with the pedigree, his own move on the grandest stage of them all. But yeah, I mean, I think just some other things, like, I don't know, I just liked the hardcore style in WWE a little bit better. You know, you can make the argument maybe the matches, some of them were boring, or they didn't know how to properly utilize hardcore. Once again, man, I'm not just here to talk shit about stuff and say it wrong. I know, I mean, that might even piss a lot more people off because they're like, what? You're not sticking to your opinion. Which, I mean, obviously I am, but like, oh man, you're pussy, yada yada. But I don't know, I just like to debate about wrestling. I don't like arguing, if that makes sense. But I do love to hear people's opinions and maybe suggestions for matches that I should check out and stuff like that, and see what ECW is all about and stuff like that. Because they really did a great job of getting like guys who would kind of be not even just, you know, mid-carders, but lower mid-carders in other promotions, such as you know, the Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, guys like that. You know, they got over as main eventers. Raven made his career there. Very good character work, from what I hear, a lot down there. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of positives to ECW. Hence why the WWE took stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't think it's a thing of anything's entirely original. in wrestling. I think even ECW took a lot from like FMW or something like that in Japan and stuff like that, that hardcore style. It's just Paul Heyman was the guy to introduce that to the, the more extreme stuff to the American audiences. So, once again, I'm not saying it's entirely right, but I think if you can do something and make it more mainstream or make it work and make it better, then I think that's something you should be able to do. Whether you steal the idea or not, I think it's better execution. Which, once again, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who would say that ECW did it better. But once again, I'm bringing up this stuff because I want to share my opinions. And I want you guys to share your opinions. Even if you think that I'm just completely wrong, or even if you think I'm just a freaking moron, doesn't know what he's talking about or whatever, share down below. I'd love to talk about, ECW, get some match suggestions from you guys, what you think was the real, special ingredient from ECW, more things you may have thought that the WWE stole from ECW and all this other stuff. I just love talking about wrestling. But I think I'm going to hold my thoughts on what I think about this series as a whole. I'm going to gather my thoughts probably for the last video in the series, WWE Day of Reckoning 2, my whole thoughts on the series as a whole. Just because, I get their different games, but I'm assuming they're going to be very similar to each other. But, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed and you want to see more. I am, once again, going to start WWE Day of Reckoning 2, continue the story of Kai next week. But, above all else, thank you guys so much for watching once more. And above all else, please remember to have a nice day.